Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
This is your host, Alicia Debrell from Insight Media. Today's guest is #1 international best-selling author, Andrea Fairbairn. Andrea is the author of a book that is written about a disease that has affected many of us and our loved ones. The book is called Chemo and Back Again. Through her own story, she helps people affected by cancer feel peaceful and joyful going into and out of cancer treatment. Andrea also has just been signed on by a major publisher, and that will help her with her upcoming book series, which I can't wait to find out more about. So without further ado, I want to welcome Andrea to the show. Hi, Andrea. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alicia. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm excited about this interview. It really touches my heart too. So, Andrea, I think what you've accomplished is really, really powerful. But I want to back it up a bit, and I really want to know really a little bit about you and your backstory and a little bit more about who you are.
Thanks, Alicia. That's great. Well, it's about cancer, but it started a little bit before that. I was born with an eye condition which was quite rare, and I ended up having a lot of surgeries as a child. And through that, I spent a lot of time thinking about healing and how can I get through this, that kind of thing, and went into studying psychology. After that, I went into international aid work because I really believe in helping others and helping people going through really tough times in their lives. And unfortunately, in my life as well, I was diagnosed with breast cancer on my 39th birthday, actually. And that took me in just a completely new direction because I had to start really thinking about this hugely serious major illness. And that is really what has brought me here to what we're talking about today.
Wow, you've had health struggles since you were small. That probably helped you with the strength of getting the smack in the face with cancer.
That's right. I feel that, I spent a lot of time in my life thinking about how to get through things and focusing on healing and recovery and what are the best ways to get through. And so when cancer came into my life, it was another one of those times. And I would think, how am I going to get through this? And to bring, all my toolkits and all my tools and my toolkits into alignment to get me through.
That was such an uplifting story that I know that there are so many people out there that can relate to that. What is it about going through such an extremely difficult hardship and that basically led you down the path that you are today?
Thanks for that, Alicia. So being diagnosed with cancer for me was a complete shock. I didn't see it coming. And like many of us, it is a trauma and it's hard to be prepared or equipped for something that you've never experienced before. It's quite scary. When I went through my first diagnosis and first sets of treatment, it was going through everything for the first time. And I found it hard to get a sense, like have a map of where I was going. And I would often ask, so how long will it take me to recover from this? Or so when do you expect me to be able to work full time and things like that? And I found I couldn't really get those answers very easily. So I went through treatment from my breast cancer and ended up out the other side, feeling a bit worse for wear, but actually going back into life. I had all these ideas that I might be able to give back in some way, but I kind of got back into life, so to speak. And it was only when I was diagnosed with cancer the second time that I saw it quite differently. I had about a month to think about the fact that I thought I might get diagnosed again, and I had time to really reflect on how I might do that differently if I had the opportunity, now that I knew everything I knew. And I had a really good conversation with a good friend of mine, and I thought, I can't really understand this because I've learned everything you could possibly learn about cancer, so I can't really understand what the point of this one is. I could do it really differently. I could approach it from quite a different angle, look after myself in quite a different way, and perhaps I can record all of the lessons learned from the first cancer and apply them to this and share them with other people so that it would give me a feeling that this second cancer had a purpose, so to speak, because I felt like it was just really unfair, to be honest.
I don't blame you. So the book, it was kind of a therapy for you, and it was giving you the opportunity to have a purpose to be able to help other people.
Yes, I felt that part of the purpose of the second cancer was to really take everything that I knew and note that down for other people. And also, it gave me a bit of a focus, to be honest, because I could, for example, things like during the first cancer, I really didn't know how to communicate that well with so many people, because we all have so many people in our lives. And how do you keep them informed? And what do you say? And what do you pass on? And by the second one, I had that completely down pat, where I could, kind of do it in a really quick, easy way. And I kept a blog, and I just told people to check the blog. And then I reduced the amount of time and energy that it took to communicate the same message over and over, and especially when they're difficult messages. Like, I went in for a chemo cycle and this is what happened.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to retell that over and over again. And often you are dealing with other people's responses to that information as well, which can be quite difficult.
I was going to say that could be very exhausting too.
Well, sometimes people are quite upset about your diagnosis, which is understandable, or even angry, or have all these emotions. And actually, I do understand it, but you have to kind of focus on your own healing recovery. Mm-hmm. So it's quite hard to handle other people's anger or other people's upsetness.
So for somebody who's currently battling cancer, I can only imagine there's many of feeling hopelessness, helplessness, and basically and how it's going to affect their quality of life. What would you say to them?
I think there's two things that are really important. One is protecting yourself, and the other is managing your situation. So there's so much of cancer that's completely outside your control, but there are some things that you can do. So one of the things I talk about is putting yourself in a bubble of positivity. Completely surround yourself in that bubble. So it means that sometimes you can't watch the news if it's just full of, bad things. Just keep yourself surrounded by people who are going to give you support and not tell you lots of stories about people they know who've died or very awful things that happen when you go to the hospital. Kind of shut down those stories. So keep yourself full of positive people, positive stories and inspiration. And then the other part is reach out and get the support you need. And often the support with cancer is quite specialized. A friend may be able to help you if they're really, someone who's got really good skills. But otherwise, get that specialized support that you need. Research shows that people who have the most support while they're going through cancer treatment have higher survival rates. So you want to do this not just for yourself, but for your survival rate. But so go after something that can make you feel good today, whether that's talking to someone who has survived cancer, talking to your doctor, talking to someone, reading something uplifting. Just kind of immerse your whole life in things that will help you get through.
And that totally brings back to the book, Chemo and Back Again, and why you wrote it, to kind of give that positive inspiration.
That's right. Yeah. Well, there's different reasons why I wrote the book. One of the reasons was to give people hope and inspiration, just uplifting things to look at. Even the colors, they're very therapeutic. It just makes you feel better. But to just give that message that it is really possible to get through. And this is kind of, it could be a map that's not quite right for you, but this is a map of what recovery might look like.
At what point did you launch the Joy Agency? And what can you tell us about it and its mission?
So I launched it 2 years ago in 2016. And it's really part of a kind of a philosophy, I would say. I started off believing in, when surviving cancer or going through cancer treatment, that survival is the most important thing, survival at all costs. And I still believe it's really important to focus on that. But for a lot of people, it's not black or white. They actually live in the grey area of cancer where it's maybe being managed or they are living with that long term. And also you never know what might happen next year or tomorrow or in 10 years' time. And so my focus started to change towards really looking at peace, your personal peace in your life, and feeling joyful, and having that as the goal at all costs. And so the Joy Agency is really about that. It's about really searching and claiming for that joy in your life and finding peace on a day-to-day basis, whether you have cancer or not. So not letting the cancer be the defining thing in your life, because that's something we can't control. We can do treatments, we can focus on recovery, we can think positively or whatever, but there is an element of mystery here and we can't really control the future.
Yeah.
But what we can control is how we feel today and who we surround ourselves with and the things that we choose to do. So that's what the Joy Agency is about.
I love it. I love it. So, and I also reviewed the website, and there's so many great options available on there for people, such as the Hello Retreat tours. And tell us a little bit about what are the retreats and tours about and what's behind it.
Great. When I had my first set of cancer treatment, I came out and like many people, I had, no hair. I felt kind of really run down and was feeling a bit kind of flat. And, I was discharged from the hospital. They said, you're fine, go off and enjoy your life. And I was thinking, exactly how do I do that? Now what?
Right.
And I was really fortunate to have a couple of friends, and they said, we're going to Brazil on holiday. Would you like to come? And I thought, okay. And I went, and it completely helped me get my mojo back. It filled me with, joy and inspiration. I had so much fun, and I was a different person. And that took about 2.5 weeks. And I thought there's ways to it's not like a shortcut or a life hack, but it kind of is. There's ways that we can intervene in our lives and just create these amazing states for ourselves. And one of them is through travel. So I organized some tours to Italy and some other places. And I really believe that is something that can be on people's, I would say, like toolkit for recovery, or even if you're going through treatment and feel you have enough energy. Because I feel, and the research shows this, that if you kind of fill your life with happy and joyful experiences, your cells are actually brimming with joy as well. And that's one of the best things you could do for your health. So that's really what the Joy retreats and journeys are around. And I wait until I have about 15 people who show interest in one, and then we'll hold it. So that's how that's worked. Yeah, there's been a lot of interest actually, and a lot of people want to do that. It's a wonderful thing to do.
And everybody, do they have to be somebody who has survived cancer, or?
I had a lot of interest from people who just wanted to come, to be honest. So I've kept it quite open.
Okay,
and often people want to take friends and family, or just, they just want to go. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing to do in life overall.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's discuss your latest book that you recently published, Chemo and Back Again. But first, I want to say congratulations on reaching #1 status in multiple countries. I think you hit #1 in 3 countries, correct?
That's right. And thank you so much, Alicia. I'm so rapt about it. And one of the main reasons is because my vision was to get this book to people who are going through treatment and get that support to them now. So I'm just so happy about it.
No, that's awesome. It's got to feel such an accomplishment, because there was so much behind writing it, which I want to go into more detail. Can you give me a brief overview of the book?
Sure. The book, it's set over 5 years, and it starts when I'm told I need to do chemotherapy, how I felt, what happens to me on a day-to-day basis, like going into an appointment, the information that I'm given, and how I feel about that, which obviously I'm not really that happy that I have to do it. And what I do is I record all the things that I think will be useful for other people, and then show all the tips that I give to others on their best ways to manage through each appointment, through each part of the chemo and cancer journey. So there's some really practical tips there, and it goes right through treatment, how to recover from treatment, which is why it spans right through 5 years, and then how to start getting yourself back from being an ill person to a half well person, and then sort of stepping gradually right back into life, and the impacts of the cancer and the chemo that might still impact on you, but kind of giving people a real map, a guide of a possible way that it might go. And I've infused the book with just lots of art, beautiful images, my travel journeys, showing people what it was like when I went to Italy after my second cancer. I also went to France, and it just, changed my life. I've just felt so incredible after some of those trips, and how that really helped me in my recovery, and also how it impacted relationships, work, career, money, just everything that cancer impacts. So it's really a story. It's written as a story, and quite an honest look at what it's really like.
So when was the day that says, you know what, I'm going to take all this information and I'm going to put it in the book? I'm going to write this out, and I'm going to make that decision to share your story with the world. What motivated you to do that, and when did that happen?
So I was diagnosed for the second time in 2011. I think I started my blog about a day after that, perhaps around just about that. Yeah, maybe a day or 2 days after that, I started a blog. I started capturing all that information at the time, because it's really hard to think back and think, how did I feel back then? And also, I wanted to record how I felt after the treatments. So when your body's just full of all these medications, and I'm a bit blurry, or, my memory's lost, I can't really sleep, and all of those things, I wanted to record all that real-time information. So I blogged all the way through, and realized that it was now becoming a book, and I wanted to put it into that form. I also had another friend, a really dear friend, Leslie, and she was going through cancer treatment through chemo, and I kept visualizing having this in front of her while she sat in the chair while she was having chemo. So she was sitting there having this on her lap, and it kind of gave me that inspiration to put it into a form that people could take with them wherever they are. So yes, that's how that all came to be.
So it actually started from like day one of the second diagnosis. So this is your actual feelings, emotions, the good, the bad, the ugly, mostly probably bad and ugly, of that experience of, the second diagnosis and the chemo and every appointment and how you felt when you got out.
I started blogging from then. The book starts from when I realized I need to do chemo, because before that, I went through 5 surgeries before I started the chemo, actually. So I kept a record of all of those as well, and they're on my Breast Cancer Nirvana website. I kept a breast reconstruction diary, what it's like to go through that, and also, the diagnosis, how to recover, because, we're starting to take more notice of post-traumatic stress disorder these days for all different, especially our military people. This is what happens with cancer. You have these repeated shocks, and it's really important to kind of deal with each one and try and heal it as you go. So I've kept all of that information.
Was it therapeutic for you, or was it more of you wanted to get it out to the world, and you have that, that picture in your head of your friend being able to read it while she's going through treatment?
Sure. Well, it was 2 things. There was a parallel process going on for me. I felt it was really important to get it out there in the world, but in a way it was a birth for me as well, because I've always been a writer, but mainly in my work. And this sort of started something for me where I really wanted to start, instead of writing for other people, I wanted to write and share the messages that I had. So it was a really incredible process for me to, share my journey in that written form, but also know that it was really going to be of benefit to someone else. Actually, I was just at a dinner party last night, and someone told me that they'd given the book to a friend of theirs going through chemo, and she said that the person had stayed up all night reading the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And had found that it helped her so much. She's going through chemo right at this time, and I just felt like that's what it was about.
That's awesome. That all of your dreams and all that work, finding that it really does have a positive effect, it's got to be really fulfilling.
It is. It's really fulfilling. And actually a couple of times I've been into hospitals in New Zealand and had some fundraising to gift books to people actually going through treatment. And I've talked to people receiving chemo and given them the book, and I found it's just one of the best experiences of my life, really.
I love that. So somebody that either gives the book or somebody who's buying the book, what is the message that you want them to walk away with?
The main message I want them to walk away with is it is possible to get through. It's not a guarantee, but it is possible. And it is possible to have a great life regardless of cancer. But here is some help and just another tool for your toolkit in life of how you might get through. Here's a map for you.
I love it. A little birdie whispered in my ear that you got signed with a major publisher. What other books are you writing, and what can we be on the lookout for?
Thank you. It's so exciting. I've got 3 books that are just about ready to go out. One is, so this Chemo and Back Again obviously is about chemo, but it's about cancer as well. And it's really for anyone impacted by cancer or, just people who want to read a story and help, get an understanding. But I've got another book that's about cancer and how to get yourself back from it. Another book on how to support someone who's going through cancer, because that's quite a huge thing in itself. And I want to acknowledge that it can be harder on the partners and the support people than the person going through cancer, because it's such a lot for that person to deal with. My partner told me he just worried the whole time, whereas I knew I had a plan, but he couldn't do anything. So he found it really difficult. And I've got another book it's really a life coaching interactive journal to partner with you while you go through cancer and cancer treatment, to just kind of help you get some of your feelings out and get them down on the page and help you start thinking about the impact of cancer on your life. There's some negative impacts, obviously. However, there can be some positives in some ways, not usually at the time, not necessarily while you're going through it, but afterwards. Sometimes it's good to write it down.
Well, I'll tell you this, I'm totally excited about your next few books that are going to come out. Cancer's touched my life and with more than one person in my family. So I would love even the one, I like how you also address in one of the books about the people who are taking care of the people going through cancer, the partners. That's something I would love to give to somebody. So I'm excited to see what else, what these books have in store and what they're going to do for everybody out there, because it's such a major problem.
Yes, it is. 1 in 3 people will be impacted directly by cancer, and most of them will survive that experience, but it's still a very difficult time for everyone.
So what other plans do you have in store for the Joy Agency?
So the Joy Agency, I've got a lot of plans for that. One of them is to get more and more resources on the Joy Agency website to help people really enjoy their life. Today, even if you're going into the hospital today, what can you do? Actually, in the book Chemo and Back Again, I talk about a chemo activity pack and all the things you can take in to make it a good day. So, resources and tips and all sorts of things. I'm really looking forward to getting more of the books on there. And, if anyone's interested on going on one of the Joy retreats, there's information on those on the website as well. I'm just looking forward to building it as I go.
So that actually brings me right to my last question. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you for, they wanted to read one of your books or, purchase one or do one of the retreats with the Joy Agency, how would they go about doing that?
Great. Thanks, Alicia. First, Amazon. We've just launched the book in Kindle form, so go there. So it's available there, and also come to my website, thejoyagency.org, and I've got all the information about the book and other resources and all information on the tours. I've also got a website specifically on breast cancer called breastcancernirvana.com. So that's got a lot of resources specific to breast cancer.
Can you spell that out?
Breast Cancer Nirvana, NIRVANA.com.
I love the fact that you have so many resources for people who are going through this, but now you're going to have resources for the people that are affected in their immediate life. I think that that's going to be so powerful. I'm really empowered and just, warm-hearted about the entire book, and I'm so glad it's doing so well for you.
Thanks so much. It's been such a rewarding experience, and it's been so rewarding seeing the impact on other people, and it's just really exciting to see how it's taking off.
I think there's a ton of incredible content coming from you soon, so I'm really excited about that. All right, guys, well, you just heard from #1 international best-selling author for Chemo and Back Again, Andrea Fairbairn. All of her contact information will be below here in the show notes. And this is your host, Alicia Dubrell from Insight Media. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.